Hey everybody. Hopefully as you've been watching these videos, you'll know that when I show a plain box like this that clearly the label has been ripped off of, that means that this box came from Japan. And it did. It came from Japan Booster, one of my favorite online stores and a Lamley partner. They sent over the latest Tomica Limited Vintage and it's right here. And I am so excited to show you what is in here because this may be the most loaded Tomica Limited Vintage batch maybe ever, because there's so much good stuff in here and we are going to get to it. All right, I'm going to move this now as I say that, or as I move this box over here, and I kind of move this stuff out. I will tell you that the link to Japan Booster is down below. There's also a link to their online store, japanbooster.com, and to their eBay store, where you can buy this stuff unless it sells out because it goes so fast. All right. But I would follow that. I would definitely save that link, and be prepared. Tomica Limited Vintage is one of my favorite brands. These models are not cheap, but these models are completely and utterly worth it. Many of you have been getting these that we've previewed before, and you've been telling me, oh my gosh, these are awesome, and I'm so glad I have them. And it's worth every penny, and I completely agree. Okay, is that enough of a push? All right, let's show you what's here. From Tomica Limited Vintage, let's start here. This is the September Assortment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this stuff. I might unbox a couple, and then we'll break away and come back showing you all the models. There's no reason to have you watch me open everything, but there's also no reason to not show you everything. All right, the first model. You want to look at the number first. LVN 154. LVN means Limited Vintage Neo, which is their newer cars. This is the Nissan Gazelle hatchback. It is a new casting. You can tell by the numbers. The higher the number, 154, means the later the model, if that makes sense, right? So that is there. This one comes in two colors. You can see the wheels are different, and I promise that will be reflected in the model. So this is the Gazelle hatchback. Same with that one, but different wheels. Okay. Tomica Limited Vintage, they have to be strict to scale. They also want to be strict to detail. So if there's different wheels on a different color, then they'll do it. Does that model look familiar? It's one of the most popular Hot Wheels models. Datsun Bluebird 1600 SSS. Look at the number LV168A. LV means Limited Vintage. Notice no Neo there. It's one of their, because it's their older models, and that doesn't mean model, but older car models. So this would be from what, about 1969, maybe 1970. This is a four-door Bluebird, like the 510. Okay. Now, some of you might just see a truck. Others of you know what this is. LVN Neo 144B. Which one was A? Well, you've seen A several times, and every time I show it, you guys always ask. I always get questions. Where'd you get that hauler? This is the hauler. LVN 144B, the Nissan Atlas F24 safety loader. There's a picture of it. This one is in gray. It is B. That is A in white. And if you try and find this one now, you'll find it. But you'll pay a whole heck of a lot of money for it. People are buying those up so quickly because they're just so cool. And we're going to open that one, of course. Two more. I said this is loaded. We already see this, that Gazelle hatchback is a cool model. Maybe not as well known to my viewers. But, you know, anytime you show a Datsun 510 or a Bluebird, whatever you want to call it, that's going to be popular. The Atlas Loader may be one of the most popular Tomica Limited Vintages ever. But we ain't done. Another Datsun 510 four-door sedan. Mr. K's Selection Volume 2. Do you know who Mr. K is? Well, I'm guessing if I open this, you can read that and it will tell you, but I can't read it. Mr. K is, if not the founder, one of the heads of Datsun, well, Nissan, Datsun in the United States, but Nissan. And he, I'm not going to try and get all the history right. You'd probably go on a Japanese nostalgic car for that and look up Mr. K. but he's an icon in the auto world in general. Icon, obviously, for Japanese cars. And he was the one behind the Nissan Z, for example, the 240Z. And he was also in love with the 510 four-door sedan. Now, all these details and pictures, I can't understand what they are, but there is the model. There is the box. So that one goes, these are special editions that they do. That one goes, obviously, with these. Last but not least, this needs no explanation. Tomica Limited Vintage Neo Mazda 787B. One of the most famous Japanese race cars ever. It won Le Mans. You can see the cool artwork. I'm going to move these to the side. And you can see I have some of the others. I'll do some close-ups of those. But some of the other iconic Japanese race cars that Tomica Limited Vintage has done, they've done a whole series of super silhouettes. I'll feature those more specifically. I'll talk about them more specifically another time. But all right, I did some opening. You got some cars over here. You got some boxes over here. When Japan Booster sends them, they always send them in this plastic protector that they provide, and then the models are, of course, in these nice boxes with plastic kind of holders in there, so the models are always well protected. But it does mean it takes a while to get them open, so no reason to watch me do that. I want to start with this. This is how the Mazda 787B comes packaged in 3 pieces. And that is because this is one heck of a detailed model, and they want you to appreciate what a race car is all about. In fact, they've done this. If I just pull in, for example, this super silhouette race car, notice that they have this piece that can be removed from the back, or from the front, sorry. Although maybe I'll show you some of these models here real quickly in a second, but let's get back to that 787B. In fact, let's use the Atlas loader. Let's just move in. And let's put this car together right on top. There it is. Getting hauled to the race, to Le Mans, 91. There it is with its hood. And here it is with its rear piece. How cool is that? We'll put it on the little round table thing, that little rotator. But you can see, I mean, just amazing, right? Not only the 787B, but the Hauler, which has its little working pieces. And then when you have 2 of these, you start having fun. You put the 787B on one. You put the super silhouette skyline on the other. And you just go and play around, play around, and play around. All right, let's drive these off. Let's make sure that everything is protected. And let's go ahead and give you some close-ups of these beauties. All right, let's move up. Let's get our little display going. Sorry. Okay. Might as well walk through these others that are still, I mean, in any other batch, these would be amazing. Like this Gazelle hatchback. I think it is a tremendously cool model. Remember, they're perfect to scale. Tomica Limited Vintage is obsessed with scale. The way I describe it is if that, for example, the 787B were on an Atlas loader, that is what it would look like in real life. It's replicated in this 1/64 scale. There is the silver one. Notice that there's your red one. Notice the wheels on the 2 are very different. That's because Tomica Limited Vintage is also obsessed with stock models and how they should look back in the era that they come from. So if the silver had those hubcaps on them or those wheels, they'd get them. Tomica Limited Vintage would go ahead and replicate those. Same thing with those more spoked wheels on the red one with the turbo on the side there. So that's just attention to detail. They will only do a model if they can get the actual car the actual model or the actual car in the studio to study it. Not just photos, not just plans, not any of that stuff. The actual car, so they can make sure all the detail is there. There is Mr. K's Datsun. I'm not going to go through all that packaging still, but there is Mr. K's Datsun in white. It's kind of cool. We're so used to seeing the Hot Wheels version of this car, which is a great model, but here to see the stock version. This is Tomica Limited Vintage has done several of these. This obviously has a new number, so there's probably some details that I'll look at. Notice the brown steering wheel. I'll try and figure out what some of the changes are in these castings, but whatever there is, whatever difference there is, it means it has a new model number. Here is the silver one. Okay, let's look at that Atlas, right? I already showed you what it can do in terms of the moving bed, how it slides off. But now you get to take a look at all of the detail. Notice the interior. I mean, it's just an amazing model. I don't know if Tomica Limited Vintage anticipated this being as popular as it is, but the white one was just sold out so quickly in Japan and online, and then the prices have just skyrocketed. So if you can, I would, there you can see the pieces here. How this works, slides up, rotates. I mean, it's just amazing. Okay, I'm going to move this to the side. Let's have a gander. Now, should I walk you through these race cars real quickly? I will. These are the race cars that Tomica Limited Vintage has done before. Starts off, and I'm going to go through them quickly. Starts off with the Datsun Bluebird. Or, sorry, is it the Nissan, right? Nissan Bluebird Super Silhouette. Showed you that they have those removing pieces. This is the Coke Light, which I think is great. We're so used to Diet Coke, but that was Coke Light before that. These cars were super influential in Japan car culture. Here's another Bluebird. Coca-Cola Bluebird. And then the Autobox in orange. Great early 80s coloring there. Again, a crazy amount of detail. You can even see the mirrors. They actually have mirrors on the side mirrors. So they're called super silhouettes because they had to have the standard silhouette of the car, more or less. So if you look at right there, there's the typical silhouette. But then if you see how they had these wide skirts and these big intakes, and these cars were monsters. And just people loved them. And if you look at some of the stylings today, think of like the Hot Wheels Mad Manga, whatever you call it. You can see there's some influence here with those sweeping front chins and everything else. These cars were highly influential. Again, going back to what Tomica Limited Vintage does, there's 3 of these R30 Skyline super silhouettes. Look at the interior there. Look at the racing seats. The metal interior. So they did 3 of these. I think same driver if I'm not mistaken. But they're different, they're more updated, they just all are a little different. Notice that one has a grill, but then there was the Iron Mask R30, which was a later version of the R30 Skyline, and I think that first one had it. This one doesn't, and then this is my favorite one. If there's one of my favorite little details of any Tomica Limited Vintage model, it is the rear wheels on this car. Just have that gander. Look how cool they look with the spokes. All right, so I'm just going to spend way too much time looking at these. Last 2 that have been released in, I think, within about the last year is the Nissan Silvia, which was one we were hoping to see them do, and they finally did it. And they did 2. Almost identical in so many ways, but not in every way. I'll show you that. Look at that front chin. Notice the front deco on the chin and on the front hood. And notice that metal trim on the side. That's probably the easiest way to see the difference. Those wheels, another incredible detail. Now you've got this one. Different, right? See? So every couple of years, Tomica Limited Vintage will do another race car. These Silvias were such a big deal for me, for a lot of people who cares about what I think. But they decided to go with maybe the most iconic of all race cars, of Japanese race cars, the Mazda 787B, which won Le Mans. And of course, they did the same thing, just adding an incredible amount of detail. This is just amazing. I'll let that run around one more time. I'll be photographing these and putting them up on lamleygroup.com here shortly as well. So take a look at that. All right, guys. There's a link down below for where you can buy these. Japan Booster is the place. That's what I would do. You spend over $50, you get free shipping, which is a great deal coming out of Japan. Let's just hope I don't screw this up. Oh. Wouldn't you love to see that just go flying off of this thing? This is my final little stunt on a video here. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Lots more to come. Bye.